Charlotte stared at the slow drip of the IV, counting each drop as it slid down the clear tube. 1, 2, 3. The steady rhythm was the only thing keeping her grounded. She already knew where she was. Hospital. She remembered the white walls, the smell, the way her head had throbbed when she first opened her eyes hours ago. What she didn't know was why her chest felt so tight every time she thought of leaving. The doctor stood at the foot of her bed, calm and professional. Your vitals are stable. No internal bleeding. You can go home today. Home. The word felt empty. Charlotte nodded, her fingers tightening around the sheet. Okay. As the doctor turned to leave, she blurted out, "The man I spoke to yesterday, is he coming back?" He hesitated just long enough for her to notice. "I'm not sure who you mean," he said carefully, "but your husband is already on his way." Disappointment hit her harder than she expected. She looked away, annoyed at herself. Why should she care? She didn't even know his name. Yet the room felt colder knowing he wouldn't walk through that door again. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional, dramatic billionaire stories filled with twists and unforgettable characters, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. Your support helps this channel grow and brings you even better stories. Her husband arrived less than an hour later. "There you are," he said with a wide smile, relief exaggerated, like he'd rehearsed it in the car. "I was losing my mind." He leaned in to hug her. Charlotte allowed it, but her body stayed rigid. His arms felt heavy, his scent unfamiliar. When he pulled back, concern flickered in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked. "Yes," she said automatically. Too automatically. On the drive home, he talked the entire time about how worried he was, about how everyone had been calling, about meetings he had postponed. Charlotte watched the city blur past the window, her reflection faint in the glass. "I don't remember this road," she said quietly. He laughed lightly. "You've driven it 1,000 times." "Oh," she murmured. The house loomed ahead of them, tall iron gates opening slowly. Charlotte's breath caught. She'd seen it yesterday, but stepping inside felt different, worse. "This feels like a hotel," she said as they entered. Her husband frowned. "Charlotte, it's your home." She walked through the living room, touching the couch, the glass table, the polished surfaces. Everything was perfect, too perfect. No warmth, no familiarity. Her parents arrived that evening. Her mother rushed toward her, pulling her into a tight embrace. "My baby," she whispered, voice breaking. "We came as soon as we landed." Charlotte clung to her, breathing in a familiar scent that finally eased the knot in her chest. "I'm okay," she said. "I think." Her father squeezed her shoulder. "You gave us a real scare." Later, sitting between them on the couch, Charlotte asked softly, "Can I ask you something, and you promise not to get upset?" Her mother nodded immediately. "Anything." "Was I really married?" Charlotte asked. "I mean, did I choose and want it?" Silence stretched. "Yes," her father said gently. "You were in love. You wanted this life." "And I was happy?" Charlotte pressed. Her mother smiled, but something flickered behind her eyes. "You were content." Charlotte nodded, swallowing. Content didn't feel like happy. Her best friend came the next day, bursting through the door like a storm. "You idiot," she said, hugging Charlotte tightly. "How dare you scare me like that?" Charlotte laughed, genuinely this time. "I didn't plan it." They spent hours talking, laughing, reminiscing. Her best friend filled the silence with stories, memories Charlotte listened to like someone else's past. It felt good not to think too deeply, but nights were different. Charlotte couldn't sleep. She found herself standing on the balcony, wrapped in a blanket, staring up at the stars. The sky felt honest, unchanging. She breathed slowly, letting the cool air calm her racing thoughts. Why does this place feel wrong, she wondered. One morning at breakfast, she spoke before she could talk herself out of it. "I want to go back to work." Her husband's fork paused mid-air. "What?" I worked before I got married, she said. I remember that. I want to do it again. You don't need to work, he said quickly. You stopped because you asked me to, she finished calmly. But I'm not that person right now. He stared at her, jaw tight. You're my wife. I'm still me, she replied. At work, everything clicked. Her mind felt sharp. People respected her. She laughed easily. Decisions came naturally. For the first time since the accident, she felt like she existed. At home, she felt trapped. When her husband touched her, irritation flared instantly. She pulled away before she could stop herself. What's wrong? He asked one night. I don't know, she snapped, then softened. I just don't like it. The confusion in his eyes didn't move her the way it should have. The day she ran into Ethan again, she was leaving a store near her office when she almost collided with him. Careful, he said, smiling. Her heart skipped. You. Me, he confirmed. Looks like fate has brought us together again. He wore casual clothes, effortless, confident. Two men stood a short distance away. Alert. He gestured subtly, and they stepped back. I'm getting groceries, he said. My sister wants to bake. She smiled despite herself. That sounds cute. They spoke for a bit, exchanging pleasantries, and Ethan asking how she was. When she mentioned she hadn't brought her car, he offered her a ride. Outside, she stopped short at the sight of his car. Wow, he chuckled. It gets me places, he said, shrugging his shoulders. The ride felt easy, safe. When he dropped her off, her husband was waiting. The way his expression darkened told Charlotte everything, and standing there, between comfort she didn't feel and connection she didn't understand, Charlotte knew her life was quietly, dangerously changing. Her husband barely spoke during dinner that night. He watched her instead, his eyes following every movement as if she might disappear if he looked away for too long. Charlotte noticed, and the attention made her skin itch. You've been quiet, she said, pushing her food around her plate. I'm thinking, he replied, about us. The word us felt heavy. Charlotte forced a small smile and nodded, then excused herself early, retreating to the balcony where the night air wrapped around her like a familiar friend. She tilted her head up, counting stars again, the way she'd been doing every night since coming home. They didn't judge. They didn't expect anything from her. The days blurred into a strange rhythm. Work energized her. Home drained her. At work, she laughed more. She stayed late without realizing it. She felt capable, independent. People didn't treat her like something fragile that might break if handled wrong. At home, everything felt performative. Her husband would bring flowers, plan dinners, touch her shoulder as if reminding himself she was still there. Every time his hand lingered, irritation sparked in her chest. Don't, she snapped one evening when he tried to pull her closer. He froze. Don't what? Don't touch me like that, she said, instantly regretting the sharpness of her tone. I need space. I'm your husband, he said quietly, hurt edging into his voice. I know, she replied, her voice trembling. That's what everyone keeps telling me. Her best friend suggested a getaway a few days later. Just you two, she said brightly. A reset, something romantic. Charlotte shook her head. I have work, important work. Her husband watched her closely. You never used to choose work over us. I'm not who I used to be, Charlotte said, and this time she didn't soften it. She started running into Ethan more often. At first, it felt accidental. A coffee shop near her office, a bookstore she ducked into during lunch. Each time Huo greeted her like seeing her was the highlight of his day. You stalking me? She teased once. Maybe, he said easily, or maybe the universe is bored. They talked about little things. Books, movies, his sister, her work. He listened in a way that made her feel seen, not observed. He never asked about her marriage directly, never crossed lines she hadn't drawn herself. She told herself it was harmless. She told herself she wasn't doing anything wrong. One evening, after a particularly long day, she found herself walking beside him instead of heading straight home. You don't seem happy, he said quietly, not accusing, just stating. Charlotte exhaled. "I don't think I'm unhappy," she said slowly. "I think I'm misplaced." He looked at her with something unreadable in his eyes. That happens more than people admit. When he dropped her off that night, she lingered before opening the door. "Thank you," she said, "for today, for not making things complicated." He smiled, soft and genuine. "I don't want to be another complication in your life, Charlotte." Hearing her name on his lips sent an unexpected warmth through her chest. Her husband saw her step out of Ethan's car again. This time, he didn't hide his anger. "Who is he?" he demanded as soon as the door closed behind her. "A friend," Charlotte said calmly. "You don't have male friends who drive cars like that," he snapped. She shrugged. "Maybe I do now." The argument that followed was quiet but sharp, every word cutting deeper than shouting ever could. Her husband accused her of pulling away, of changing too fast, of forgetting who she was supposed to be. "I didn't forget," she said, tears burning her eyes. "I just don't feel it anymore. Maybe I don't even know who I was anymore." She slept on the edge of the bed, that night, staring at the ceiling, wondering when things had gone so wrong. The corporate event arrived sooner than she expected. It was meant to be a celebration, the formal handover of her father's company to her, the culmination of years of preparation. The ballroom buzzed with power and ambition. Cameras flashed, voices murmured. Charlotte stood beside her parents, nervous but proud. Whispers floated around her. "Did you hear he's attending? They say he's ruthless, cold, brilliant, untouchable. The devil, some people call him." She didn't ask who they were talking about. She had never been concerned about gossips. Then the announcement came. "And now," the host said, voice booming, "please welcome the CEO of Blackthorn Group, Ethan Blackthorn." Charlotte's breath caught as Ethan stepped onto the stage. Not casual, not relaxed, commanding. The room erupted into applause. Power radiated from him effortlessly. This version of Ethan looked untouchable, dangerous in a way she hadn't seen before. Their eyes met. He smiled, the same smile he used to give her, the same smile she knew. Her heart dropped into her stomach. This was him, the billionaire, the devil everyone whispered about, the man she had been opening her heart to without knowing who he really was. The applause roared around her, but Charlotte heard nothing. She felt lied to, deceived, foolish, not because he was rich, but because she had started liking him before she knew the truth. And the way he looked at her now, steady, unapologetic, full of something that felt like certainty, terrified her more than any rumor ever could. Her world tilted, and she knew nothing would ever be simple again. Charlotte's knees felt weak as the reality sank in. Ethan, the man she had laughed with, the one she had started trusting, the one who made her heart beat without asking. He was the billionaire everyone feared. She pressed her palms to her face, but she couldn't hide from the truth. The whispers, the rumors, the stories she'd only half heard now made sense. People didn't call him the devil for nothing. The room around her felt like it was closing in. Flashing cameras, sparkling chandeliers, congratulatory smiles, all of it blurred into background noise. Her focus was only on him, that calm, confident figure on the stage who had been so approachable, so gentle before, now standing as untouchable as the city skyline itself. He looked down at her again and gave the tiniest nod. No words, just the look. Charlotte's chest tightened. She hated the way her stomach flipped, hated that she felt drawn to him even knowing he had kept this from her. And worse, she hated how relieved she felt that he seemed happy to see her. Her mind raced. How could she have been so naive? She had let herself feel something for him without realizing who he truly was, and now she couldn't stop feeling it. The rest of the ceremony passed in a daze. Speeches, handshakes, the official signing. Her father beamed at her with pride, her mother wiped away tears, and yet Charlotte felt detached, like she was watching someone else live her life. She smiled politely at business partners, nodded at colleagues, but every thought returned to Ethan. After the event, Charlotte slipped out to the quiet terrace overlooking the city. She needed air, needed to think. She felt the breeze on her face, trying to push back the storm inside her chest. "You're avoiding me," a familiar voice said. Charlotte turned sharply. Ethan was there, standing casually by the railing, hands tucked into his pockets. The city lights reflected off his eyes, making them seem almost dangerous, almost luminous. I needed some air," she stammered. He smiled, patient, calm. "You're thinking." She didn't answer. She didn't know what to say. The mix of attraction, betrayal, and disbelief made words impossible. "You feel deceived," he said softly, stepping closer. "I should have told you. I wanted to, but—" His voice trailed off, something unreadable in his expression. Charlotte felt anger flare inside her. "You lied to me. You let me believe you were just you, someone simple, someone I could trust." "I didn't lie to hurt you," he said gently. "I wanted you to like me, the real me, but I didn't want the first thing you knew about me to be fear or expectations or rumors. I wanted me, just me." Charlotte shook her head, torn. Her heart wanted to run into his arms, but her mind screamed at her to stay away. The betrayal stung. She felt foolish, embarrassed for allowing herself to care, and furious at him for not being fully honest. I can't just ignore this," she said, finally, voice trembling. "You weren't who I thought you were, and I don't even know how to feel anymore." He took a careful step closer. "Then don't decide yet. Feel what you need to feel. But know this. I like you. I've liked you since the first moment we met, and I'm not going anywhere." Charlotte looked at him, caught between disbelief and something deeper she wasn't ready to name. His words were intoxicating, dangerous, and terrifyingly sincere. She turned away abruptly, needing distance. Her hands gripped the railing. The city sprawled beneath her, lights twinkling like stars mirrored on Earth. The memory of the stars she'd stared at alone over balcony came back. She realized she hadn't felt that calm in days. Ethan had made her feel that calm, and maybe that was part of why it hurt so much. Inside the terrace doors, her husband waited. His presence loomed in the shadows. Charlotte glanced at him briefly. His eyes were sharp, calculating, jealousy simmering beneath the surface. He had noticed her lingering outside. He had seen her with Ethan. She felt the old irritation at him flare once more, sharper now than ever. "Charlotte," he said when she stepped back inside, voice smooth but tense. "You've been distant. What's going on?" She ignored him, walking past. She no longer felt like the same person who had once bent to his control. She felt alive, aware, cautious, and free in ways she couldn't yet name. The rest of the evening passed tensely. Charlotte's mind replayed every look from Ethan during the event, every subtle gesture, every smile. She felt like she had been pulled into a storm she didn't understand and could not escape. That night, lying in her bed, Charlotte stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything that had changed. She didn't know much about her husband, but from the little she has gotten to know from the past few days. Her husband had always claimed her, expected her, controlled her, but she loved him, right? And yet here she was, her heart betraying her, leaning towards someone who had been honest about his feelings but hidden everything else. She knew something was inevitable. She could feel it in every beat of her chest. Her life was no longer simple, her choices no longer clear. And worst of all, she realized she was falling for Ethan, despite the wealth, the power, the rumors, despite the lies he had let her believe. The final thought that echoed in her mind before sleep claimed her was simple, terrifying, and impossible to ignore. He's the richest, most feared man in the city, and I like him. Her chest tightened, her stomach flipped. She felt stupid, exposed, and the next time she saw him, nothing could be the same.